All right.
Now you want me to start?
Yep, you can start whenever you're ready.
All right. Michael wants me to tell you about things that have happened in my life. So first of all, I should tell you that I was born July 4th, 1926. And the worst thing that happened was when I was 7 years old and 9 months. And my brother was just a week old and my mother died. Now, the best thing that happened to me after that was that my grandparents took me and reared me and my brother, the two of us. But unfortunately, my father was very young. He was only 29 when my mother died. And he became very angry. Now, the first story I'll tell you is about, I used to play with a boy down the street called Jackie Vinge. We both had red hair, and he was born December 4th. So I was 6 months older than him, so I was always the boss. And I used to lead him into all kinds of mischief. And this particular summer, we were only 8 years old. We'd managed to get some chalk, and we played Catch My Leader or some other game. And we chalked every garden wall for a whole block across the street, on the floor, and then on our side of the street. There was chalk everywhere. And the day after, my father came home from work for lunch. And in England in those days, you see, we had our main lunch was dinner. So Grandma made dinner for us at noontime. And my father came home for his dinner, and he's complaining about all the chalk in the street. It's a disgrace. Thinking disgrace was a good thing. I said, oh, me and Jackie Vince did that. So what did I get? One good slap against the head. And I got a bucket of water and a scrubbing brush, and I was told, you scrub every piece of chalk mark off all those walls, and all those garden walls, and all the walls on this side. And if I see one piece of chalk when I come home from work, you'll get another pasting. And that's what they used to call it in those days when they slapped you. It was pasting, you see. I got a few pastings in my days. So the next summer, it was March 1935, and it was King George V and Queen Mary's Silver Jubilee. And so everybody had to celebrate this. This is like July 4th, you know, on a whoop-de-doo in England. And I went to a school that was what they called a church school. The school was attached to the church, just like your mother's used to be, Michael. And the children at school had to sing some patriotic songs. And the women from the church had made all kinds of stuffed pies and cookies and all kinds of stuff to eat, because it was a bake and buy sale, anything to raise money for the church. Now, this was my debut as a soloist. I was 8 years old. No, 9, because it was 1935. And anyway, the idea was all the children, the girls were supposed to wear white dresses, the boys were supposed to wear white shirts and dark pants. But you know, we were all very poor, and half of us didn't have white dresses. I, for one, didn't even have a silk dress to start with. My grandmother used to dress me in jerseys and heavy skirts because they lasted longer. So anyway, a friend of our next door neighbour had a daughter who was getting rid of some of her clothing. And they were about 4 sizes too big for me. But the woman brought them up. And there was a pink silk dress with brown polka dots. As I say, it was miles too big. Instead of the waist being round the waist was on my hips. And instead of the dress being just below my knee, it was down at my ankles, you see. But I'm going to be the lead singer. And when I get to school, the teachers shake their heads and they say, what are we going to do? So one teacher said, well, I have 2 little gold pins, safety pins. Let's pin the dress up on the side and put the belt round, and maybe it'll hold. See? So, of course, that's what they did. They pinned the dress up, one on each side, but they were all little tiny safety pins. Now they told me, this song was called England, England, we all love you. And I was supposed to do some acting, like, you know, E stands for England, and G stands for glory, and A stands for army, and all, and I had to salute and then do all this, and then we had to march and all. And I had to do all these kind of movements, you see. Prima donnas don't do that. But anyway, this is what I was taught to do, you see. So here I am singing my heart out, England, we all love you. And I'm marching and saluting and swinging my hand. And one of the pins falls out. So I end up with a dress that one half is up to my knees and the other half's down to my ankles. And that was my debut as a soloist. So then I got in trouble again when I was about 10 years old. My grandmother used to tell me all kinds of stories about when she was a young girl and how she used to go to see the plays at different theatres and so on. Well, she told me about this play, this melodrama called Maria Martin and the Red Barn. And there was a theatre in town that we always used to go to, called Theatre Royal. And the owner knew my grandparents, and he knew me, and everybody knew me, you see, at the theatre. Well, a repertory company came to do this play this particular week. Sometimes they had movies, sometimes they had concerts, sometimes they had plays. So this particular week, it was a play, this melodrama, Maria Martin and the Red Barn. So, again, it was summer, so we weren't going to school. And I conned my grandmother into giving me tuppence, which is 2 pennies, to go to the Theatre Royal to see Maria Martin and the Red Barn. And of course, Jackie Binge comes with me. He gets tuppence and we go. Now, smart little Nora said, well, Jackie, we have tuppence. If we spend a penny on toffee, which is what you call candy, then we can go in the gallery instead of the upper circle where my grandparents always used to go. And we'll have some toffees and we can see from the gallery just as well, you see. So, of course, we went and spent our penny each on candy and toffees. Then we went up in the gallery, which is what we used to call the gods. Great big place. You see, there was 4 levels to the theatre, and the gallery was where all the poor people went. So when me and Jackie Binge got up there in the gallery, there's nobody there, and it's very scary and we're frightened. But the play had already started, so that was fine. We went down and we're chewing at our candies and we're watching the play. So, of course, the play ends. But because there's nobody there to turn us out, me and Jackie Binge stay. See? Well, we didn't see it, we could stay. So we stayed. In the meantime, my father came home and said to my grandparents, "Where's our Nora?" "Oh, she's with Jackie Binge. She should be in bed. It's time she was in bed." So, anyway, he went out. So my grandmother said, "Joe," that was my grandfather, "Joe, get to the Theatre Royal and bring him home fast before he comes back, or else he'll be giving her another pasting." So anyway, my grandfather comes to the Theatre Royal, and they're looking for me in the upper circle, and the owner and my grandfather and all the ushers are looking. Then they go in the dress circle, then they go downstairs, and they can't find us. "Well, where is she?" "Well, I don't know, Joe, but she isn't here." They never think to go in the gallery because nobody goes up there, you see. So my grandfather comes home and he said, "I couldn't find her." So my grandmother said, "Oh, what are we going to do?" "Well, let's go to bed. And if he comes home and he's in a bad mood, he'll think she's in bed." My grandma's covering for me, you see. So me and Jackie Binge watch this play until it's almost the first act is over again. We think we better get home. So we run home because we know we're late. In the meantime, my father had come home, and he was still mad and he was still angry. So he turned the light out and he hid behind the door. And when I walked in, I said, "Good night, Jackie." And I walked in. Wham! I get one good slap and I'm knocked on the floor. In the meantime, my grandmother said, "Oh, Joe, go down, he'll kill her." So my father then started kicking me, you know, and my grandfather comes downstairs, and he's so angry at my father because my father's just taking everything out on me because he was so upset that my mother had died, you see. And anyway, my grandfather, I've never heard my grandfather swear in all my life. My grandfather didn't like bad language, and he never swore. But he did that night. He pushed my father away, and he picked me up, and he said to my father, "Keep your bloody feet to yourself, and don't you ever lay a finger on her again. Now get out of this house until you can behave." My grandfather threw my father out of the house till he could come back later on that night. Then he carried me up to bed and put me in bed with my grandmother. So, you see, I used to get into a lot of trouble when I was a kid. Of course, it was my own fault half the time. And this story ties in with another later on with Geoffrey at the Theatre Royal. But now we'll skip to where I was about 18, just before I was 18. And I got this postcard from, I used to call her my cousin, but she wasn't my cousin really. I had an auntie who was married to Joan's uncle. So we each had the same auntie and uncle, but we weren't cousins, but we always called ourselves cousins. So I got this postcard from Joan. "Please come to this address tomorrow night," which would be Tuesday night, at 7 o'clock. "We need your help." So I was used to doing plays and singing, because I'd done it at church. I'd been in the church choir since I was 10 years old, and I was Prince Charming in a Cinderella play when I was only about 10. So, and we'd done plays and plays all through my teens. So we went to this house, Ida and I, and we met all this group of people, young people about the same age, between 18 and 20. And they formed like an amateur theatrical group, you see. And what they used to do was go around to different churches, and they'd do this play, and then it raised money in the church, for the church, you see. And we did it for free, you see. We never got paid, we did it all for free. So I went to this house and I met up with these people, and they were due to put on a play, Gaslight. And the girl that was supposed to do the maid, which is a pretty big part, had to be called up because the war was still on, and she had to enroll as a war because of the war, and they had nobody to take her place, and they were due to do this play in about 10 more days, and so that's what they needed me for. And so they gave me the script and they said, can you come back in about 2 days and we'll practice again? So I said, yes. So as we were going out, we're saying goodbye, good night to everybody. Now Jeffrey was there, and he didn't do any acting. Jeffrey was the director of all the stuff that was going on, mechanical, electrical, anything that needed doing, music, anything. And but he never spoke, you see, all night long. And on the way home, Ida said to me, "Oh, wasn't Donald Ogden a super guy?" And I said, there was nobody there worth looking at, only Jeffrey. I said, but he'll never speak to me again, because when we were leaving, we were coming out and I was saying good night to everybody, and then Jeffrey said good night, and I looked at it, I said, "Oh, it speaks." And I said, "Oh, that was very rude of me." And I said, "It's a wonder Jeffrey ever talked to me ever again." And then later on in years, I asked Jeffrey, "How come you fell in love with me?" And he said, "Because you were always laughing." And so that's how I met Jeffrey. Now, I've told you about Gaslight, and I'll tell you about, we went all over town, different, all kinds, I don't know, 8 to 10 churches we played this Gaslight, and we played other plays. Years down the line, about 2 years down the line, now by this time, Jeffrey and I were courting, you see. It must have been love at first sight for both of us anyway. Anyway, this play, Gaslight, was coming to the Theatre Royal with this group of performers, professionals. So our group decided we'd go and watch them. And so we went to watch them. There were about 12 of us by this time, because I'd got more people to join. And we had about 12 people. And so we all went to see this Gaslight. And when it was over, we, you know how it is, you all get in the aisle and you're walking out. And by the way, this time, we sat in the good seats, not up in the gods. And so we're walking out. And we're all saying, "Oh, she did this and she did that, or he did this and he did that," about the professionals. And I said, "Oh, I thought the maid did pretty well. She played her part pretty well." And there was a man walking out next to me. I'd never seen him in my life before. And he turned to me and he said, "She wasn't half as good as you were. You did a much better job." And for once in my life, I was speechless. I was so shocked that I couldn't even answer him. I couldn't even tell him thank you for praising me. I was so surprised. So where he saw me do gaslight, I don't know, but he thought I did a better job. And that was how we started with how I met Jeffrey. Now, when Jeffrey and I got engaged, you see, we wanted to get married, but we had nowhere to live. You see, there'd been a lot of bombing, and all the prefab houses that they were building, they were all for the soldiers and the forces coming home, and the people that had lost their homes when they'd been bombed out, you see. So the chances of me and Jeffrey getting a house was hopeless, you know. We didn't want to live with his parents. We didn't want to live with my grandmother. We wanted to start married life off on our own. Well, Jeffrey had an auntie that owned 4 houses, and the houses were over 100 years old even then. And the old lady that lived in the house that we got died. And so Jeffrey's Auntie Ethel came up to Jeffrey's mother and father's house early in the morning and said, "I've got a house for rent. If our Jeffrey and Nora want it, they can have it. Then they can get married." So when Jeffrey's father came to the shop, Jeffrey's father was a pharmacist and I worked for him. And when he came to the shop, Jeffrey's father told me that Aunt Ethel had this house for us. So I phoned Jeffrey at work and I said, "Do we want it?" And he said, "Yes, we want it." So we decided we'd rent this house. It was what they call 2 up and 2 down. It had 2 bedrooms upstairs and a kitchen and a living room downstairs. That's all. It was an old house. It had an old-fashioned iron grate where you had fire, where you built a fire. It had a big stone sink that they used to call a slop stone. It had no hot water. It had no electricity. And the toilet was outside. And, and it cost 7 shillings and 2pence a week to rent it. So we rented it. But what we did, we had all the old iron stuff taken out, the fireplace and stuff. We had new tile fireplace put in. We had all the drawers redone by a professional decorator, and that one room decorated by the professional. We had the stone sink and the boiler taken out, and we put a new tile sink in and a new water heater. So, now Jeffrey was very smart and very clever. We had the electric company come, and we had 1 electric light put in the living room, and 1 power plug in the living room, so that we'd get a box for the electric light and a box for the power, because they're different voltage. Now, what Jeffrey did then was put me plugs in every room. He went in and wired the whole house. I had lights all over the place. In the pantry, lights going up the stairs. When I got in bed, I could put the light on. When I went in the room, when I got in bed, I could pull the light and the light would go off. And we had plugs all over the place and lights on because Jeffrey was able to wire them and do them. He was very, very smart. And he saved us lots of money doing things like that. And 3 months later, we had the house 3 months before we got married. And in between, we used to go down every weekend and do a paint job on the kitchen or upstairs in wherever, you know. And then we got furniture and different things. And little by little, we got it all ready. So that was our venture starting to go into married life. And then when Bernard was 5 years old, Jeffrey had his own business. He went into business with a couple of partners in a drawing office. And we bought what we call a corner shop. It was something like a 7-Eleven, but there was more. We sold more things. I sold bacon and cheese and vegetables and stuff like that as well, and cake and chocolate and ice, all kinds of stuff. And more than a 7-Eleven, really. And Bernard used to love that because when he went to school, he used to help himself to a bar of chocolates on his way out to school, you see. It was great. He thought that was great. And then we decided to go to Canada. And I think we'll stop there for now.
Do you want to go back and talk about your wedding? Because you skipped over from engaged to having my dad. Do you want to talk about your actual wedding?
The actual wedding, yes. Well, we got married on a Tuesday for the simple reason that Jeffrey's father, I told you, was a pharmacist. And it was our half day on Tuesday, and he could close the shop. And so that's why we got married on a Tuesday, so we could close the shop. And otherwise, Jeffrey's father and brother, Bobby, wouldn't have been able to come to the wedding. We'd have had to close the shop and it caused a problem. So that's why we got married on a Tuesday. And I was very popular down in Jeffrey's area with all the other people that had stores on that block. And when I showed up at church, the church was almost full of people that had come from the block where all the shops were, where Jeffrey's father had his shop. And it was very heartwarming to see so many good friends that knew me, apart from all our relatives and, you know, that. Now, it was hard to get material, you see, because everything in the war was on coupons. But you see, I smuggled my material, my dress material for my wedding, when Jeffrey and I went to Dublin. First of all, one year we went to Belfast, the north of Ireland, and we met some girls that came up from Southern Ireland, from Dublin, and we kept friends with them. So that a couple of years later, we went to visit them, and that's when I bought the material for my wedding dress. And the lady where we stayed wrapped it round me and tied tape round, and then I put a skirt and blouse and jacket and wore a raincoat over the top of that when we were coming home. And I looked like Big Fat Nan. My grandmother, she can't possibly have put that much weight on it.
Okay, now and then I just had to restart it again. So just say from, she couldn't possibly,
Pardon?
start from when you said she couldn't have possibly put on that much weight in 2
Yeah.
weeks. Yeah, start from there. She said,
My grandma was so, she took one look at me and she thought, oh my goodness, you know. And I said, it's okay, Mother. By this time I used to call her Mother because our Harold called her Mother, you see, because she was our mother. And I said, it's all this material I have on me. And when we took it out, it was the most gorgeous material. I would have never gotten anything like it in England, you know. And that began my smuggling days. Well, actually, it started a bit before then when we went to the north of Ireland. Because for one day, Jeff and I took the train and went down to Dublin. And it just was for one day, you see, a trip there and back. And like I told you, everything was still on coupons. And you were limited to what you could buy in England. Well, I bought all kinds of stuff. I bought a blouse, and I bought some knickers, panties, you see. Oh, incidentally, Jeffrey wore those. He wore half a dozen on his way home. How he ever went to the bathroom, I don't know, on the way home. And I wore a load, and then again I wore a suit, you see. And it worked out where they couldn't see. Now, we'd bought some candy down in Dublin.
okay, start from,
All right.
we bought, okay.
Fortunately, we'd bought some candy, but we'd been taking pictures and we'd been to different places down in Dublin. And when we got back on the train, we were in this compartment, you see, and there were other people with us. And they were bragging about what they'd bought. And fortunately, for once, I kept my mouth shut. And I said, oh, we didn't buy anything because we were busy taking film, and we just bought some candy. Well, when the inspectors, the customs inspectors, came on the train as we're coming out of South Ireland to North Ireland, and the inspectors came into our compartment, they said, what did you buy? And I said, nothing, we just bought these candies because we were, you know, taking pictures and we were busy looking. The other people said, nothing. And they said, oh yes, you did. And they took those people out of the compartment. And for once, Jeffrey and I, we'd kept our mouths shut, and we managed to get home with Jeffrey wearing my half a dozen pairs of knickers above because I couldn't get any. And then a new blouse and something, other things that we'd bought. So that was the beginning of my smuggling days. I learned I've smuggled champagne when we went to Canada, and I even declared it one time. And fortunately, this was should come later on because it was when we came from California. So I'll tell you about that story later on. Now, what else do you want to hear, Michael?
Oh, no, this is good stuff. I'm learning all kinds of new things.
There's,
So
maybe we could have a bit of a rest.
yeah, I want to take like a 10 break for a little bit. How that was? Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, it was in 1965. No, wait a minute. 1957. No, let me see now. We got married in 49, yeah. And in 1957, we emigrated to Canada. That's right. It was the Jeffrey and the two other boys that he was in business with decided they'd go to Canada and try and open the drawing office, you see there. So they left in May, and Bernard and I flew out the month after in June. And so when we first went to Canada, it was, well, I didn't go to work, and Bernard went to school in those days. Well, still, all children went to school, didn't they, more or less? We can block that out, Michael.
Yeah, no problem.
But anyway, the thing was, there was one, we went to live in a little house on Mohawk Road. It was a little house in a field, and there was a next door neighbour, and there was a big barn. And by this time, this would be, our Terry was only a baby, and Terry was born in Canada in 1958, and it was after Terry was born that we went to live in this little house in this field. And Jeffrey, this particular night, Jeffrey had gone out with some buddies, and all of a sudden there's this knocking at the door, and the door's open, and it's this policeman that walks in, and I'm having the shock of my life. And he said, "Come on, lady, let's get you out of here. The barn's on fire." And our Bernard was trying to get dressed, and he was trying to put his shoes on. And the policeman said, "You haven't time to put your shoes on, son. Just pick them up and pick your dog up, and your mum can pick up the baby. Let's get you out of here, because the barn's going and this field's going to be on fire. We're lucky if we're going to save this house." So they were hosing down this little house, and they were hosing down the other house that was a little ways away from us, because they figured there wasn't much use for the barn. You know, it was pretty well hopeless for the barn. It was going to go anyway. But they wanted to save the house for us, which they did. And then when Jeffrey, I couldn't even call him because we didn't have cell phones in those days. I had to wait till he came home. And when he did come home, he didn't know what was going on. And they drove home, and he could see that everything was, the barn was on fire, and the police and the firemen were all working on our house, and he didn't know where I was, because a lady from across the street, who had also been in a fire not long ago, said, "Come on to my house and put your baby down," she said, and just sit in my house with your dog and your other son. And so she took us in and took care of us, which was very nice of her. And then somebody they went and told Jeffrey, when Jeffrey came home and he found us, because he wondered where we were, you see. So much for the fire. And I'm ghastly afraid of fire now. And so anyway, that was one time. And then there was another time. Shortly after that, Jeff and I bought a house, a really very nice house, not far away from where we used to live. And it was on South Bend Road East. And there was one year, it was Christmas of 1964, and we decided we were going to take the boys home to England to show them England and to let them see their grandparents and their great-grandma. And so that's what we did. We went home to England. Now we drove up to Toronto and we left our car with Jackie Vinge, who had gone to live in Toronto. The little Jackie Vinge that I used to play with as a kid had emigrated to Canada also, and he lived in Toronto and we lived in Hamilton. History repeats itself in life. So anyway, we left our car with Jackie Vinge and we flew to England and we were in England. Now, we went to see my grandmother and she still had a gas stove. But in those days they had a meter, and in order to get your gas, you used to have to put pennies in the meter. And Bernard and Terry thought it was great fun putting the penny in the slot in the meter and pulling the handle down and hearing the penny drop. And they put that many pennies in Grandma's meter. It filled up and she'd have gas for months. I thought that was great. And then I have a picture somewhere. Terry has it. We went in a store one place and there was a monkey. And it really took to our Bernard. It kept struck. And Bernard's holding the monkey. And Bernard had a jacket with a fur collar. And it kept stroking the fur collar on Bernard's jacket. It really liked the fur collar on Bernard's jacket. Yeah. And then when we came home to Canada, we expected it. We didn't come home till for 2 weeks. We went just before Christmas and came home after New Year's. And we were hoping it had snowed and cleared off. Oh no, that year it didn't snow for Christmas. It waited till we came home. And when we got home, it dropped 14 inches of snow. Oh my goodness. And what happened, Jeff went shoveling snow, and the boys went shoveling snow, and I went shoveling snow out of the driveway so that Jeffrey could drive his car to work. And then the snowplow came and pushed it all back into the driveway. Oh, it was messy. And we had a few mishaps in Canada. 2 mishaps with Jeffrey. And it was odd because it was his boss that was at the accident both times. One time he was coming up. We lived on what they call the escarpment. Hamilton is here, and then they have a mesa. It's a flat top mountain, and we lived on the flat top mountain on the mesa in Hamilton. It was a very nice house up there. And Jeffrey was coming home from work up this winding road up the mountain, and the road had been closed because of the snow and the ice, and they'd salted it, but there were patches where the sun hadn't gone. And so Jeffrey was coming up on this road, and he skidded on this patch of ice, and it shot him over to this edge of the cliff. Unfortunately, he hit a bollard, and there were bollards with wires. If he hit the wire, it would have flipped him over, and he'd have gone down the mountain, and he would have probably been killed. But because he hit the bollard, it saved him. But he banged his head. He was driving a Volkswagen. Both times with the accident, he was driving a Volkswagen. Anyway, the doctor came to the house and put stitches in his head. those were the things the doctors did in those days. She came up and took care of him at home, so he didn't have to go to the hospital. A couple of years later, again, it's winter and it's near Christmas, and we were going out. We were going to go shopping, and we're going down, not on this particular road. We'd got off that road this time, and we're on another street, and this man ran the red light and ran into our car and then took off, and we thought we had a hit and run. And again, Geoffrey hit his head, and who should be there again but Geoffrey's boss, who was there the first time to help when Geoffrey had his car accident. This time, the boss took him to the hospital, and because he cut his eyebrow, and he had to have a plastic surgeon come in and stitch his eyebrow up. Those were the accidents that Jeff had in the winter months in Canada. Now, in the summer months, we went fishing. We used to like to go fishing. Well, I did anyway. Geoffrey not too happy about fishing because he couldn't swim, and he wasn't too happy about going in this boat to start with. But anyway, I got in the boat. It's a rowing boat, and the other friend that was coming with us, called Woody, he was in the boat, and Bernard was in the boat. I don't think Terry was in the boat, can't remember. I don't think so. I don't think our Terry was born. This was before Terry was born. So in order for Geoffrey to get in the boat, to make sure it's steady, I'm holding on to the dock, but my feet and my legs are in the boat. And Geoffrey's getting in the boat. Now, when Geoffrey gets in the boat, Woody pushes off with the oar, and I'm still hanging on to the dock. and here's the boat drifting out, and I'm hanging on to the boat, and I'm either going to tip the boat over, and if I fall in head first, I'm going to drown. And I'm shouting, throw my feet over, throw my feet over. I can swim. So finally, they throw my feet over, and so I swim to the boat, and they pull me in. And Bernard always says I look like something that came out of the Black Lagoon. And anyway, that was the fish that we caught that day wasn't worth eating because there was that much oil in the bay because all the ships docked in that bay. So that was a bad experience too. The fishing wasn't that good. Then another time we went fishing and we were on a pier. And I cast our lines out. And I'm the only one that caught anything. And oh, whoop-de-doo. And I'm reeling it in it. Boy, it must be a big fish, this. Pulling it in. And I'm thinking, this is great. Oh, boy, we've got supper. And I finally pulled it up. And I'm scared to death. I thought it was a snake. But it was an eel. I whipped it over him. There's no way I'm touching that. And there was a boy on the pier, and he said, oh, you've caught an eel. I said, you can have it. I don't want to take it off my line. I mean, if you have to cut my line, I don't want it. So he said, oh, my mother cooks them. They're great. If you cook, I said, you can have it. So I'm afraid our fishing days didn't do too well. So then we decided we'd go camping. So we went camping. So good old, we still have the Volkswagen. And we bought a great big tent and all the equipment, you know, and a Coleman stove and a lantern and all this stuff. Oh man, We have all this, we're ready. We go off with a cooler and everything. So we're going down the freeway, and for some reason, I think Jeff had to stop for some reason. I don't know what it was. And all of a sudden, the tent and went flying off the top of the roof of the Volkswagen, skidding down the highway. We hadn't even tented. We hadn't even been once in the tent. When we put it up, there's holes in the tent, so when it rained, it did us for many years, but when it rained, we'd have drops of rain coming through the holes, you know. And then there was another time when we went camping, and we bought a one-wheel trailer. But before this, we went camping in Michigan, near Ann Harbor. But we were professional campers by then. We got it off fine. We used to take the front seat, the passenger seat, out of the Volkswagen. We folded the tent up, we'd put the cooler on it, and then we'd put the rods by the side, and then we'd put the stove on and prop that in. We'd put the sleeping bags in the back, what we used to call the welly hole behind the seat, in the back seat. And the three of us used to sit on the back seat, Terry and Bernard and I. And then the other stuff, the extra food, and the suitcase and stuff, we used to put in the front of the Volkswagen, what they call the boot, but whatever. So, one time we were camping in Michigan, and they sent us in the wrong part of the campsite. They sent us in the group campsite. So we got there, and everybody had their job. I used to start dinner straight away on the camp stove, on the Coleman stove, and Bernard and Jeffrey used to put the tent up, and Terry used to go and do his job. So we got it all done, and dinner was cooked and everything was ready, and it started to rain, but that was fine. We went in the tent, and then we had our dinner, and we sang, and we had music, and so that. Now the day after, we went walking, and the people that were camping next to us was a group of Boy Scouts. And the leader of the Boy Scout invited us in to the group. And he said, "Boy," he said, "you lot really taught my scouts how to be prepared." He said, "We saw you come in, everybody had the job, you all did it, and you were eating your dinner before it started raining." He said, "You were so organized." He said, "And that's what I've been trying to teach my Boy Scouts for months." He said, "But you taught them the lesson. They realized what I've been trying to teach them." And they invited us to stay for lunch with them, and they roasted corn. And so that was in Michigan. And this was when we lived in Canada, but we were touring in Michigan. So that was another time that we went camping. And then another time we went camping, and we bought a one-wheel trailer because we thought, oh, this will be good to put all the stuff in. And then we had this trailer hooked up with one wheel that had one wheel on. So this particular weekend, we're off on a camping trip, and one of the tires on the Volkswagen blew out. And the weight of the one-wheel trailer dragged us back into the ditch. The trailer went in the ditch, the car came back with it, and we were stuck in the ditch. But your grandfather, Michael, He was the luckiest man alive, I'm telling you. He, we managed to have this accident right outside a farmer's house. And he came with his tractor and he pulled us out of the ditch and he put us in his field, and we put the tent up, and we tented in his field all weekend. And then he called somebody for Jeffrey's car, and we got a new tire and everything, and we managed to get home and on Sunday afternoon or Sunday night like we always did. But in the meantime, we tented with at this farmer's. We even went to visit them afterwards, another weekend. And then there was another time that we went. Jeffrey, he had a very bad habit. On the Volkswagen, there used to be a little lever. And when you filled your gas up, you're supposed to make sure that was up. And then you filled your gas up, your gas tank. And then when it registered empty, you could pull that lever down. And you had about a gallon of gas, enough to get you to a gas station. Jeffrey had a very bad habit of not making sure that lever was up. So we're in the middle of nowhere again, a country road, and the car runs out of gas. And there is no gas because Jeffrey hadn't turned the lever down. But I'm telling you, he was the luckiest guy alive. The driveway to the farmhouse was right there. And that farmer actually had gasoline, and he brought gasoline and he put it in our car, and we got home. How he ever did that, Jeffrey. Now another time, this was after the boys had left, when they were doing their own thing. Jeffrey and I were out one Sunday afternoon driving. Again, we're in the middle of nowhere. And the Volkswagen conks out, or something happens. And in those days, Jeffrey smoked. And you used to have packets of cigarettes that had like a silver foil in. So Jeffrey took this silver out of the cigarette carton. He went to the engine, fiddled around with the engine and fiddled with this silver foil or whatever, you know. And by golly, he got us home. The car started, he got us home, and the next day he got us down to have the car repaired. I'm telling you, he was the luckiest man. But none of us really liked driving with him. He wasn't the best driver in the world. Your father will tell you that. I think we can cut it off now.
Good for today?
In the camera.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, go ahead and talk.
Testing.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, yeah,
Now,
you're good.
we're going to start back again in England just for a couple of things, because they tie in with England, Canada and America. And I had a neighbour, a boy that lived next door to me in England, and he was called Alan O'Keefe. And he had a brother called Terry and a sister called Eileen, who was a baby, about 2 years old. And Alan was about 5 years younger than I was. And so his mother and father, when they wanted to take Terry and Alan to the pictures, which is what you call the movies, Jeffrey and I would babysit Eileen, who was only about 2 years old then. And they'd take Alan and Terry to the movies, and or if they wanted to go to something that was going on at their church. Anyway, they emigrated to Australia in the year after the war broke out. No, the year after the war finished. And the war finished for us in 46. Was 45 for us and 46 for us in America. The whole thing in Europe and Asia finished in 1946. And Alan and his family, with his parents, emigrated to Australia in 1947. Now, Alan shows up 10 years later, maybe more than that. 47 to 57, that's right. Alan shows up in my shop. In those days I had a shop, you see. Jeff and I were married then, because we were married in 49. And then we had our Bernard. But Alan showed up at the shop, and I'm surprised to see him. And I said, it's been so long, you know. And I said, where are you off to? And he said, I'm off to Canada. And I said, well, so is Jackie Vince. And so are me and Jeffrey. And he said, well, where are you going? I said, well, we are going to Hamilton. I said, but Jackie Vince is going to Toronto. Where are you going? And he said, oh, I'm going to Toronto. He said, but I'll find you, you know. So, and this is Alan. All through my life, Alan has shown up. And years and years apart, we never write. He'll phone occasionally, but there'll be years in between. And then I'll get a phone call. And I'll say, where the hell are you this time? Because Alan can get a job anywhere. And he's been all over the world in his jobs. And he now lives in New Zealand with his wife and family. But he told me a story about when he was in either Iran or Iraq. And he said, Nora, I always kept my money and my passport on me. He said, because in the house that I rented, I had a still. He said, and I was making oodles of money because these Muslims weren't supposed to drink liquor. And he said, and they were buying it up as fast as I could make it. And he said, and Yvonne was so afraid that if they caught me, they'd just kill me, you see. He said, so after a while, when I made loads of money, he said, I got out. And this is Alan. He's done all kinds of wheeling and dealing all throughout his life. Anyway, enough of Alan for now. I'll tell you about Auntie Lizzie now. Now, Auntie Lizzie is not really my auntie. She was my grandmother's cousin. And she lived in Lynn, in Massachusetts. And she used to come over to her sister Alice, who was also my grandmother's cousin, you see. And I used to visit Auntie Alice quite often because she had 4 sons and they were all married. And so I knew Auntie Lizzie quite well. And she was home with her sister Alice the day the war broke out in England. So we had to get her back on the ship and back to America as quick as we could so that she wouldn't be stranded in England for the war. So then we didn't see Auntie Lizzie again until just before Jeffrey and I got married in 1949. And in England in those days, the traditional wedding cake was like the fruit cake that you have at Christmas with all the fancy fruit, you know, the sugar and the raisins and the carrot, kind of mixed fruit and the candied fruit and all that stuff, you see. And then it used to have a covering of what you call marzipan. In England, we called it almond paste. And then it used to have a covering of hard, very hard white icing, which they call royal icing. And it's hard as a brick, I don't like it. I don't like almond paste either, but I like the fruit cake. So anyway, Jeff and I weren't going to be able to have a cake like that because things were still rationed because of the war. So what did Auntie Lizzie do? She phoned home to Lynn, Massachusetts, to her sisters, and she had them bundle a whole box of stuff. All the candied peel and all the raisins and the currants and the sugar and the ice and sugar. She even had tinned butter put in the box and sent over, and the marzipan, everything sent over, so that Jeffrey and I could have a traditional wedding cake. And we did have a traditional wedding cake. Now, after that, years after that, Auntie Lizzie came to visit us when we lived in Canada. So you see, we've all moved to Canada now. Alan's moved to Canada, we've moved to Canada. Auntie Lizzie came and visited us in Canada. And we're in Mohawk Road. And while she was there, she said, well, come and visit me. So we did. And when we went to see her later on, we saw Bella and Anne and Walter, which were Auntie Lizzie's children, but they were all grown and married with families of their own. Now, Bella had a very big place on she called it a cottage. And she said, Nora, it's our summer cottage. You're free to go and use it any time you like. You and Jeffrey and the kids would have a great time. It's in New Hampshire, so they took us up to see it. And it's a big 4-bedroom house. And it's great, and it's by the side of the lake. So, after that, we decided one September we'd go. And so we went, and we spent 10 days in this summer cottage, what Bella called her summer cottage. And we went to visit a place called Manchester. And because we came from a town that was only 7 miles from Manchester in England, but this was Manchester, New Hampshire. And there's been a movie the other week on television about Manchester. And but Manchester knew it was something about the movies, and it was a film, a new film that's come out about Manchester, and I can't think what it's called now, but anyway, on the way home, we'd finished our holiday, we went viewing, and it was gorgeous because it was in September, and the leaves were all different colours, you know, red and green and brown, and absolutely gorgeous, the trees. And we're coming home, and we have to cross from America into Canada. And Jeffrey was famous for going the back route instead of taking the highways and getting there fast. So we're taking this back route, and we have to come across this old rickety wooden bridge. It was an old bridge. And we get to this place, and I said, how much for the toll, you see? Now in those days, tolls only used to be about $2-3. And he said how much it was, and it was outrageously expensive. I think it was something like $10 or $12, and I said, how much? And he said, $12, and I said, I only want to cross it, I don't want to buy it. And Bernard started laughing, and the man was so mad at me, he said, it's still $12. So that was our trip, getting from America to Canada, from our holiday in New Hampshire. And so then we decided, oh, there's another trip here. There's another little story here about Alan and Canada. He showed up at Mohawk Road one day with this young lady. And I said, oh, is this your girlfriend? And he said, no, don't you recognise her? And it was his sister Eileen that we used to babysit when she was only 2 years old. And he was Eileen, a grown-up young lady, and she'd come to visit him in Canada. Then we didn't see him again for another couple of years. And he shows up again with this young woman, beautiful young woman with red hair. And I said, is this your young lady? He said, no, this is my wife. We're on our honeymoon. So this is Alan. He shows up at odd times. He's even been to see us here in America. And Auntie Lizzie used to come and see us when we lived in South Bend Road East. And again, another story about Jeffrey and his driving. She'd been with us for quite a while, a couple of weeks or more. And we're taking her home to Toronto to catch the plane to go home to Boston, you see. Then she can get a ride to Massachusetts, or if she was going to, yeah, wherever anyway. And Jeffrey, again, he didn't take the freeway. He took her on a scenic route, as he said. When we got to Toronto, we're walking in the airport, and the Tanhoyne, will Mrs. Elizabeth Horn please register at the desk? The plane is about to leave. And I had to run up to the desk and say, hold the plane, she's here. And we got her to the plane. And then they took her out to the plane on one of these little trucks that they carry luggage on. And they got her on the plane. And they shut the doors, and the plane took off straight away. And Auntie Lizzie had to sit down in the aisle. She hadn't time to get to her seat. And the stewardesses sat down in the aisle with her while the plane went off. Because in those days they were props, they weren't jets. And then when the plane got in the air, the stewardesses picked her up and they took her to her seat. And she phoned me when they got back, when she got to her house, you know, she said, if Jeff ever does that to me again, I'll kill him. So those are the things that transferred us, little stories from England to Canada. And then we got a phone call one day. Again, it's Alan. We lived on South Bend Road. We got a phone call, it's Alan. So where are you now? Well, I'm in California. And if you and Jeffrey don't move to California, you're stupid. He said, Jeff would get him, he'd make a mint out here. So from that, we decided we'd take the children home that Christmas. And I've told you about that, where we went home Christmas 1964, and we stayed till over the New Year's. And then when we came back, it snowed. But in the meantime, you see, we had been looking at adverts. We'd been ordering the paper, the Los Angeles Times, to be delivered to us every weekend. And we were looking for what types of jobs there were for Jeffrey. So we applied. And it took us months to get all this paperwork done, because you have to have your fingerprints done and all this business. Anyway, to cut a long story short, we were due to go. We bought a brand new car. We sold the house and we bought a brand new car in Canada. And in those days, if you bought the car, you had so many days, in case if you were taking it out of the country, you didn't have to pay the tax. So we had only so many days. And when we were going to cross the border at Buffalo, Detroit. And so we got up this morning, we were ready to go and leave. You see, we only had so many days. And what do we look at? Our cherry's full of spots. He has chicken pox. So we took him down to the doctor's, and she knew we were leaving because she was a friend of ours. So I said, but we have to leave today. And so she said, well, make sure you bundle him up and cover him up. And she said, don't let them see him or else you'll never get across the border. So when we got to the border, you know these hats that have muffler things that come down over your ears? Well, it's like Sherlock Holmes used to wear. When we put our Terry in one of these hats with his mufflers down here, and a big overcoat with his collar turned up and a big scarf round his neck and his face. And thank goodness it was November, but the rest of us were quite warm as it was. It wasn't wind, it wasn't snowing or anything. But we managed to get across the border. And I said, well, he's only tired. He was only very young, you see. He wasn't so old. And I said, he's ready to go to sleep. I said, so the sooner he goes to sleep in the back seat, the less problem we'll have going across the country. And here we took Terry across the border. And it's a good job they didn't ask to see him without his hat and so on. Anyway, that was how we got to America. And we went to Allen's, you see, and we stayed in Allen with Alan for about a week, because when we got there, we had to look for somewhere to live. And Alan, we got there 2 days before Terry's birthday. And Terry's birthday was on Thanksgiving Day that year, Thursday, the last Thursday, in November. It was Thanksgiving Day. And so we went out for Thanksgiving dinner. And then Alan helped us, and we found an apartment, and people were giving us bits and bits of furniture, and we were going out buying furniture just to get into this apartment, you see, just a beginning, you see. Well, they came to unload the car, which was loaded down with all kinds of stuff that we thought we'd bring, you see, and then we wouldn't have to buy it when we got here to America. And Terry's in the back of the car, and he's throwing boxes out onto the pavement, and Jeffrey and Bernard are carrying the boxes upstairs. So when I come to him unpack this particular box, it was all my bone china from England, my Crown Derby and all that, and I was heartbroken. There was nothing left, only one plate. And all the stuff that I had bought was really precious to me. I could have choked our Terry at that time. Anyway, that we got into the apartment, and then on the Monday Jeffrey went out to look for a job, and he was back within an hour, and he had a job. So that was great, you see. Then Alan introduced us to some of his friends. And there was one fella called Bill and his wife Sylvia. And Bill had bought a kit to make a radio. And they had to assemble this kit and put it together, you see, and then hook it up to speakers and so. Well, Jeffrey decides, he'll do that. So he orders the kit, and it's $200. So he writes the check out, because he has a checkbook, and I have a checkbook. But he doesn't tell me he's written a cheque, and I have the book with all the balance in, you see. And then after Christmas, we get a telegram telling us the 6th of January, Geoffrey's father, Frank, had died. So Geoffrey said, well, I'll have to go home. So we book a ticket on BOAC, British Airways, see, for Geoffrey to go home. And when I write the cheque out, send it, and Geoffrey goes home. What happens? Whilst Geoffrey's in England, I get a phone call. The cheque had bounced. I said, but it can't have. They said, but it has. So then I realised what had happened. Geoffrey had written cheques out of his chequebook and never told me. And so my balance was not what it should be, because Geoffrey had been writing the cheques out of his and never telling me. And that's the only cheque in my whole life that ever bounced. So I said, but I've got money, but I have no car and I can't drive. And my money's still in the Bank of Canada up in Los Angeles because we'd transferred it down there. So I had to get Sylvia, Bill's wife, came and she drove me up to Canada, and we got a cashier's cheque, and we came back to the Bank of America to put the money in the Bank of America so that I could pay off this cheque, so that Geoffrey could come back from England. Otherwise they wouldn't have let him come back because the cheque had bounced. Oh dear me. Those were the days. Geoffrey drove me nuts. So then, when he came back, he said, my mother's coming out. She's going to be here for about 6 months. So I said, well, that means we'll have to find a house, a bigger house, you see. So that's when we went looking round. And that's when we bought the house in Fall Creek, which was a 4-bedroom house, you see. It was a nice house. And we had a pool put in, and again, it was up, kind of, wasn't in the wilds, but it was in an area that hadn't been built on before. So there was all kind of wildlife up there, you know, in those days, in the mountains of San Gabriel. Anyway, Geoffrey's mother came out, and she was there for 6 months. And after the day we took her home, we were picking up another couple that were coming to visit us from Canada. And afterwards, when they'd gone home, we figured out we must have been to Disneyland and Knott's Berry Farm and Universal Studios about 6 times that year. We figured out we'd had visitors 10 months out of the 12 that we first lived in Fall Creek. Anyway, when we lived in Fall Creek, we got a call one day, 6 o'clock in the morning. Bernard answered the phone, and he comes and brings it to me and Geoffrey. We're in bed, 6 o'clock in the morning. And he said, Mother, it's Irwindale Police. And I said, well, what do they want at 6 o'clock in the morning? He said, our Terry's in jail. I said, what do you mean he's in jail? Terry was only about 12 or something like 12 years old. And he'd gone camping, you see, on the riverbed with his group of kids from school. And so Jeff and I had to get up and we had to go to Irwindale Police. And sure enough, there's our Terry in a jail cell, 12 years old, and another bunch of boys in this jail cell. And I said, well, what they're in jail for? They said, well, they were camping, and what had happened, these boys had gone camping, and then one of them had a rifle. Well, one of the boys had a paper route. This was before our Terry had his paper route with Bernard. And he'd gone out to do his paper route, and when he'd come back, the police followed him. And they found all these kids at the riverbed, which they weren't supposed to be there apparently. But what they were mad at was this rifle. Well, we were shocked, you know, but they said, well, we have nothing, we just wanted you to know. That's why we took the kids in. And the kids, so Terry has been in jail, but he hasn't had his fingerprints and his photographs. But I think he was 12 years old at the time, something like, may have only been 10. And then Bernard was in high school, and I got a call. You needed down at the high school. So I get down there. What's going on? The NAACP are there, a bunch of people from the NAACP. And I said, well, what's the matter? And apparently, Bernard, in this class that Bernard was in, this girl had been throwing spitballs at Bernard or something throughout the class. And Bernard had kind of pushed her. And I don't know what the commotion was, but anyway, they hauled this girl, Karen, and Bernard into the principal's office. And then they called for me, and they called for the girl's father, and the NAACP, people from the NAACP were there. And then they called the teacher in. And they called Bernard in to tell his side of the story. Then they called Karen in to tell her side of the story. And we're listening. And I'm listening to both stories. And apparently all the class was in an uproar. And I turned to the teacher and said, oh, where were you when all this was going on? I said, didn't you see? You're the teacher, aren't you? What was going on in your class with it? Where were you? I said, oh, I was seeing to a student. I said, and all this hullabaloo was going on in your class and you didn't hear it. I said, that's not the way our classes were run when I was a kid. So then, I turned to the principal and I said, and these children shouldn't be here. They should be back in the classroom. This is just a storm in a teacup. And so he said, Mrs. Ogden's right. Those children can go back to the class. And the teacher can go back to the class. So then we started talking to Karen's father. And he was telling me, you see, Karen's mother had died. And he said, have I got it where he's already said Nora's going back? Nora's right.
Just start from there, from what he said. Nora's right. They can go back to class and then go from
Nora's
there.
gone back to class.
Yeah.
The children had gone back to class.
Yeah, that's good.
And the teacher was gone. So then Karen's father was telling us, you see, Karen's mother was dead. Karen's father said, she does everything for her friends, but she never does anything at home. He said, we bought a leg of lamb the other day. And she said, well, Daddy, I don't know how to cook it. And he said, well, go and ask one of your friends. And I said, you were wrong there. The little girl came to you. That was your chance to help her and to get her closer to you. You see, my mother died when I was 7. I said, but I was lucky. I had a good grandmother that looked after me. I said, you could have had your chance there. to get her closer to you, and you should have said to her, well, I don't know how to cook it either, but let's do it together and see what a mess we make of it, you know. And I said, and you would have had your daughter in the palm of your hand. And he said yes. And at that point, the people on the NAACP said, I think we can finish with this meeting. I think there's nothing in here that affects anything. The teacher was partly to blame, and the children were just being children. Somebody was trying to say it was a black and white situation, and in those days, you know, they were very upset about things like this. So on the way out, the people from the NAACP said to me, Mrs. Ogden, you really were very, very kind in there, and you were right, and we can see we weren't needed here at all. And what you said to Karen's father, you've made a friend there. And that night, Karen's father invited us down to the house, and Jeff and I went down because he didn't see Jeffrey, you see, and it was in a black area, but it was fine. And the sisters were outside looking after our car for us so it wouldn't get ripped off. those were the days. And then when we lived in Fall Creek, we had a neighbour, and it was called Beach. His last name was Beach, and we used to call him Beachy. And we'd had a pool put in. Now, when you're having a pool dug and put in, when they put the concrete in and stuff like, you've got to water it down, you see, keep watering it down every hour. Well, Beach had a pool put in, but he and his wife were working, so he said, Nora, will you come and water my pool for me? And I said, yeah, come down and water it every day. So I watered his pool, you see. And then I was watering one time and he came home and he said, thank you, Nora, you know. He actually bought me a box of chocolates for doing that, for keep watering his pool. Anyway, he had a nice grandfather clock, and it had the word Tempus Fugit, which is Latin for time flies, you see. And I said, oh, that's a nice clock. And he said, yeah, Tempus Fugit, they make good clocks, you know. When I came back and told Jeffrey that, he just about split his sides laughing. He said it's obvious he didn't know what Tempus Fugit meant. And then I had another neighbour, the Fanukis, and they had a dog. And if it ever rained and thundered, that dog used to leave home and come to my house and scratch on the door to come in, because she wanted to sit with me so I'd love her. She was terribly afraid of these thunderstorms. So then, because we were kind of in an area that had not been built in before, we got all kinds of wildlife, I told you. And I'm on the telephone one afternoon, and Terry comes home, and we had sliding glass doors on the side of the house, which led into the kind of den area, and on the other back of the house, which led into the living room. And the phone was in the kitchen, and I'm in the kitchen, the dining area, and I'm talking on the phone. And Terry comes home, and he said, Mother, I don't want to scare you, but you have a rattlesnake climbing up inside your house on that screen door. And sure enough, I had the glass door open, but the snake had come in somehow, and it had got onto the screen door, and it was climbing up the screen door, so it was inside the house, and I'm absolutely petrified of snakes. So I quickly went and shut the glass door and trapped the snake between the glass and the screen. And then I'm phoning the police, and I'm phoning the, I don't know who it was, the animal people anyway. And but the police got there first, and they're trying to get the snake into this box. And oh my, I don't know what they were doing with it, but we suspected they were going to do something with that snake after they caught it. They got the snake and they went. And then there was another time we had a snake in the backyard. And there was nobody home, so I had to run for whichever neighbour was home, was there, not at work, to come and kill the snake. And then there was another snake on the front, and all these were rattlesnakes. And they called the police again, and the police came up and they skidded on the snake, trying to kill the snake. You know, driving and then skidding, stopping. They were lucky they didn't get it wrapped round and thrown up into the car. So we had all kinds of wildlife in those when we first went up there in Fall Creek. And at the weekends, when we first went up there at the weekends, when the kids were younger, we used to go to the drive-in movie, and I used to bake a pie, a cheese and onion pie, and we'd get half a gallon of milk and take some plastic glasses, you know, and we'd go to the drive-in, and we'd have, in the intermission, we'd have pie and milk. And we even taught the doctor to lap out of a plastic cup. We used to take the dog with us to the movies. And then all these things as we were growing up. And then after the boys got married, of course, Jeff and I started travelling. But there's one story. When Jeff and I and Terry must have been about, let me see, Bernard was 18, so Terry would be only a young boy. And we were going to Mexico City. And Bernard didn't want to come with us because he was working. And so the three of us went, and he was left home. He wanted to stay home. So we didn't find this out until we came back home. And apparently, Bernard, whilst we were gone, we went for 2 weeks. So the middle weekend, he had a party. And all these people, a lot of people from work, came to this party. And I found out afterwards, they had ice cubes in the bathtub with beer and stuff in. And somebody had ordered loads of food, and they brought loads from work, because he worked at Vaughan's. And there were all these people. And Jeffrey's radio that he built, he'd had speakers, he hooked it to all kinds of speakers. We had speakers all over the house, and speakers outside in the backyard. And these people were having a great time in the swimming pool, and they were having a whoop-de-doo party. Well, apparently they were making too much noise, and somebody must have reported them, one of the neighbours must have reported them, and the police came. And he said, Bernard answered the door and said, just keep it a bit quieter, your neighbours are complaining. So then, an hour later, the police come again, and they said, where are your parents? Oh, well, my parents are away on holiday, you know. Well, if we have to come again, you'll be fined. So, and don't know, they had to bring the party inside then. This was about 11 to 12 o'clock or something at night. So they had to bring the party inside because they were having such a good time, nobody wanted to go home. But, so how long the party lasted, I don't know. But we weren't there, but that was Bernard in his youth. He had a great time. I don't think you know about that, do you, Michael?
No.
You'll have to ask him to tell you about when the police came a couple of times and he was going to be arrested or something. So these are my children that were really good. I've been police after them before when they're only 12 years old and 18 years old. Oh dear me. Thank goodness it was just a storm in a teacup at all times. And then we bought the house, and then after the boys got married, we bought the house in 1986. Geoffrey came home to me one day and he said, "How much are we worth?" And I said, "Oh, I've got all the bank books out," and I showed him. "That's in such a bank, and that's in such a bank, and that's in such a bank." "Right, I'm retiring." I said, "Okay." So he retired. And we'd bought this house in 1986 in Ensenada, and it was right on the beach in Ensenada. And Bernard and Sherry and the kids used to come down there to visit us, and so did lots of other friends. They used to like to come. And then Jeff and I would go on our trips. We'd been all around the world at different times, different places. And Jeffrey had diabetes, you know, so it meant he had to go to the bathroom quite a bit. And so there was one time we were in Russia, and we were in St. Petersburg at the Winter Palace, and the tour guide had got us there a little early before they'd opened up. But Geoffrey and this man needed to use the bathroom, the two of them. So she took them in at a side door and showed them where the men's bathroom was. And both this man and Geoffrey both wore glasses. So the lady took them to the toilet, the men's toilet, and showed them where to go in, but she didn't go in with them, of course, because she was female. So all of a sudden, when they get in there, or they're just going in there, this big brute of a woman was saying, "Niet, niet, niet!" And they were so shocked at her, they didn't know. She said no, and she'd tell them they couldn't come in. And they stood there because they didn't know what she was yelling at, you see. And she was so mad at them because they were stood there and she was saying no, 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 you see. She grabs the glasses off this man that was in front of Geoffrey and threw him on the floor and stomped on him, broke his glasses. So Geoffrey quickly turned round and came outside. He told me this, you see. And he said, "But I have to go. I said, "Well, come on, let's find something where we can." So we went looking and we found a load of bushes that were fairly tall. And I said, "Well, you go round there and I'll stand watch." And Geoffrey had to go and take a leak in the bushes, and I had to keep watch to make sure nobody saw us, or else they'd throw us in jail. Poor Geoffrey. So that was our trip to the Winter Palace in Russia. And then there was another time, I don't know what part of Russia we were in. We went in with this tour guide, and she said, "We're going to go in this shop, and you can do your shopping here." So I went in, and in those days my grandchildren were very small. And I saw this little wooden train. And I thought, oh, Michael will love this. And everything in the shop was marked with rupees. You see, 12 rupees, 24 rupees, whatever the price was, in rupees. So they gave you a basket to shop with. And I'm picking up all kinds of things for the kids, you see. This train for Michael and some things for the girls. And when we get to the counter, and in front of us, there's this man, and he's bought a tin of Coke that we can get at home for 50 cents. She charged him $2, and he didn't have any rupees, so he paid his $2. You see, he paid $2. So then, I come with my basket, and she's pulling this out, $20, $15, $18, and I said, excuse me, I said, I'm paying in rupees. She said, but we don't take rupees. I said, excuse me, I said, but isn't this Russia? She said, yes. I said, and isn't that the currency of your nation, rupees? And she said, yes, but we don't take rupees, we only take American dollars. I said, if you don't take rupees, you're not getting my American dollars. You can keep your stuff. And I threw her all her stuff back on the counter and walked out of her shop. So here I am with about $40 worth of rupees. And we're going back to the bus so that we can go back to with the tour guide, you see, and to the ship. And Jeffrey said, well, what are you going to do with those rupees now? And just as he said that, there was this old man walking down the street, clutching a loaf of bread as though it was gold, you know. And I said, I know exactly what I'm going to do with my rupees. So I got them out of my purse, and I went up to this old man as he was passing me, and I took his hand, and I put the rupees in his hand and closed his hand over him. And he's looking at them, and he started crying, and I started crying, and I said to him, God is good. He couldn't speak English, I couldn't speak Russian, but he knew I was giving him these rupees. And that's what I did with my rupees. I wouldn't give them to the woman because she hadn't told me that we had to pay in American dollars, and I didn't like the idea that they took us there to spend, but we had to spend American dollars when we'd all changed our money into rupees, you know, and that annoyed me. So I gave my money to the old man. And that's my story, another story about Russia. And then there was another story in Russia when we went to Malta, and we went to this palace in Malta. And there was 2 stone lions outside this palace. And it was a very famous palace because in the Second World War, Churchill and Roosevelt and Stalin met there at this palace to work out their strategy for the Second World War to beat Hitler, you know, in the Second World War. And Stalin always said that those 2 lions were like Churchill. They never slept because they were always on guard. You see, the 2 stone lions that were going at the entrance to the thing. There's all kinds of stories that now, but I think I'm going to have to quit for now and have a cup of tea or something.
No problem. You can take a break. Yeah, we can take a break.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was another time in Fall Creek. Yeah, I think it was after the boys were married. Anyway, there was this, yes it was, this kept banging on the door, and I thought, who's that? Ringing the bell and banging on the door. And I thought, oh, I looked through the peephole, and I thought, oh, it's somebody selling something, I'm not going to open the door. And they were double doors, you know. I'm not going to open them. So, banging, 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 still banging. I thought, well, they don't usually bang so long. And they're not banging, they're banging so hard. So I looked through the door again. And it's this boy, and I could see he's kicking the door. And what he's doing, he's kind of jimmied the door, and he was kicking the doors in because they were double doors. So it was summer months, and I'd always had fat arms, and I had a dress on with no sleeves, and I looked like a bruiser because I had no sleeves and my big fat arms. And I opened the door, and he's on one leg, ready to kick the door in. And I go, move it! And he fell back, and he ran. So I immediately went and called the police and told them that there was somebody, this is the middle of the afternoon, you see. And I said, there's somebody tried to break in my house. And I'm telling him, I said, he's driving a green car, and I went on and I told him my name, my address, my phone number, everything, and I told him about the boy and the car and this. And he said, lady, I don't have all day to listen to you. And so I was so mad at him. I said, right. Well, it so happened that when everybody started coming home from work, they all found out they'd been burglarised, all these people. And in the meantime, I'd phoned Jeffrey, and Jeffrey had phoned the police and complained, you see. So they sent a policeman up to interview me. And he said, is this was he a Mexican? I said, no, he was not a Mexican. And every time anybody does anything round here, they always blame the Mexicans or the blacks. I said, but it was neither of them. This boy was white. I said, and I don't know who he was, but that's what they always do. Well, in the meantime, this policeman gets a phone call, and they're finding out there's more and more people coming home from work, and they've all been burglarised. I said, but what annoyed me was that the man said, I don't have all day to listen to you, lady. And I said, and that's not what I pay my taxes for. So I got a letter saying that they apologised. No, that wasn't, I didn't get the letter then. We got a report. My neighbour went down to City Hall and reported it. And I went to City Hall and reported it. You see, because we didn't, in Duarte, we didn't have a police. We had to have Rosemead Sheriff's Department was our police department, you see. So we went down and we complained. So they sent a policeman up. We'll bring the recording up. The policeman never said that, he said. So they came up, but the policeman thought he was coming to the fella's house across the street, and in a mistake, he came to my house. And so I called the people from across the street to come into my house. And we're all sat at the dining room table listening to this recording. And when the recording came on, that part about, lady, I don't have all time to listen to you, all day to listen to you, it wasn't on the recording. So I said to the policeman, look, that recording's been doctored. You know it, I know it. Now get out of my house. And I threw him out of the house. So I told the neighbours, I said, that's not the recording. So he was so mad, this neighbour, he said, I want to hear that recording again. So the policeman went into his house, I forget his name now, and they played a recording. And sure enough, they played the right recording that said, lady, I don't have all day to listen to you. And it was right there on the recording that he played for the neighbour. And the neighbour said, Nora was right, it was on the recording. That's not the recording you did in her house. And so I'm going to report this to City Hall. So he went down and reported it. Well, it so happened that the City Hall I'd been in, and they were friends of ours. So they complained down to the sheriff's office, and I got a letter of apology from the sheriff's department because of this man, what he'd done. But I don't know whether they ever found out who it was. But apparently there was a group of people, young people, going round with suitcases as though they were selling things. And when nobody answered the door, they broke in the house and started stealing stuff and put it in the suitcase. And then they'd all get out of the neighbourhood, you see. And whether they caught the gang later on, I did hear about a gang being caught, but whether that was the same gang that was in our area or not, I don't know. Anyway, that was our burglary thing. And then we were in Australia one time. And in order to leave Australia, you have to pay a fee of 10 shillings, their money. And so the tour guide was very, very keen. Make sure you keep 10 shillings of their money to pay them, because you have to pay this. So Jeff and I had a system for when we travelled. He would take care of the luggage, and I would take care of all the paperwork, the passports and the tickets and visas and everything that we had. I had all the paperwork, and he had the luggage. So we come to the counter, and he said, passports. So I took the 2 passports out and put them on the counter, and he said to Jeffrey, where's yours? And Jeffrey said, it's there. Oh, he said, you're one of them sort of men, are you? What he meant by that, we never ever found out. And he was, oh, he said, you come from America? Because he saw they were American passports, you see. And he said, hey, he said, Jeffrey, he said, you have nothing in America. And Jeffrey said, have you ever been to America? And he said, oh yeah, I went to New York one time, he said. Well, so anyway, he was so obnoxious. And he said, you were born in England? And he kept running us down and running us down. He was so nasty that Jeffrey finally blew his stack. Now, Jeffrey didn't swear, but he was that mad at him. He said, I don't know what you're talking about, he said, but they have nothing here, only a bloody big bridge. He was so angry. Jeffrey was so angry at this man. And that was our trip to America, to Australia. But the thing is this, when we got to Australia, one of the things that was, I think I told you about it, where we saw the moon on one side and the sun on the other when we were travelling. Well, when we got to Australia, there was no tour guide there. And so I kind of kept, Brown Owl again, kept all our group together. I said, we should stay together till somebody comes to collect us. So then this man finally comes running in, and he said, oh, I'm awfully sorry. He said, but the girl that was supposed to take care of you quit yesterday. And I haven't even, I've been trying to find somewhere to house you, you see. We had no place to stay, so he put us in a motel. You see, he had to find transportation for us and a motel for us, and the poor guy was absolutely at his wit's end. So that was the beginning of our trip in Australia. And then he said, I'll try and find you something different. So he found us something different. It was in the red light district. All these prostitutes were Jeffrey. Every time Jeffrey walked out of the on the street, he got these prostitutes were after him. Oh, it was great, crazy. That was Australia. We caught the train. Did I tell you about catching the train and going to Canberra? I don't know whether we did. Anyway, I'll tell you again. We were on this train. And what we were supposed to do, we were supposed to go down on the train, and then we were supposed to catch the boat and go around this lake, you see, and so on. Well, we caught the train, and we get down to the place, and there's the taxi waiting to take us to the boat. When we get to the dock, there's no boat there. We said, well, we're supposed to be on this boat, and we're supposed to go round the lake. They said, oh, you see, the train doesn't get in till 11 o'clock, but the boat leaves at 10. I said, but what? He said, no, I'll just drive you round to the other side of the lake and pick the boat up there. So they drove us round to the other side of the lake, picked us up there. In the meantime, we're supposed to have had our lunch on the boat. But there was nothing left on the lunch, only bits and bobs that were. So we hardly got our lunch, you see. We hardly got anything. So it was a pretty rough do. And so they talk about being cheated. We got cheated every which way in Australia. Then there was another day we wanted to go on the mail boat up this river, and it was going to be Boxing Day, which is the day after Christmas Day, and we're going to deliver the mail to all these little towns on this river, and so it was going to be something different, you know. So the bus comes and picks us all up, and he said, well, you see, this is Boxing Day. He said, so the boat doesn't deliver mail on Boxing Day. It's the only day of the year that they don't deliver mail, so you can't go on the boat. So he took us to a snake farm instead. So we felt cheated again, you know. So that was our visits in Australia. We weren't very happy with Australia. But New Zealand we liked, and we enjoyed that very much. And we went to Egypt, and that's dirty. It's a dirty place. The Nile, the River Nile, was really dirty. And it's very repetitious. Everywhere you go are these hieroglyphics in all these old, well, it's ancient tombs and stuff like that. So I wasn't too happy with Australia. But China we loved. We did like China, and we were, everything went absolutely spot on time and everything. When the Chinese said they were going to do it, they did it. Everything was perfect. At all the hotels, we stayed at the best hotels, and they were very, very good. And we went to Beijing, and we saw the wall, the Great Wall of China and all that. And then we zigzagged all the way down, cross country, all down to Hong Kong at all these stops. And we went. We went on all different types of transportation. But you never want to fly on a Chinese aeroplane, believe me. The Chinese pilots don't know how to take off. They think they're in helicopters. They go along the tarmac and then instead of seem to gradually go up like we do, they went, whoop, you're up, you know. And the same with coming down, whoop, we're down. And so that was a bit rough. But then we went on the Yangtze River, and we went and saw the Chinese warriors. We were in Shanghai on the Bund. We did all the things in China, and in Beijing we went to the Forbidden City, and it's a fabulous place. It really is worth going to see. And I'll tell you, those Chinese are very, very clever. Very clever. And we enjoyed China because it was so interesting. We went to a circus and we saw cats, pets that you would have in your house. Cats doing the tightrope walk. Walking across a tightrope. I mean, you've seen little dogs perform and birds perform and elephants and all that, but you've never seen a house pet, a cat, performing. But sure enough, these cats were performing. And then we went to a place where they made Chinese rugs, you know, carpets, those gorgeous carpets. And we were there and we were watching how they cut to emboss these carpets, and then we went to a place where they wove silk, and they put on a fashion show for us, all through the ages, from you know, the mandarins when they wore the gorgeous silk gowns, these men. And the fingernails when you know the old Chinese in those days, so that was good, worth seeing, and we toured the South Seas quite a bit. Jeff and I went to Bali and Java, we went to Kuala Lumpur and Sri Lanka, and we went to Manila and went to the Philippines, you see, and Indonesia, and oh, my goodness, I can't remember all the places we went to now. A lot of all these places. Borneo, Brunei. Went to the place where they shrunk heads, when they saw the shrunken heads, and I think that was Borneo. And then we saw the orangutans, where they had these. You know, the orange colour monkeys or apes or whatever they were, yeah. And of course we've toured Europe and all the places in Europe, and I can't remember all the places we've been in Europe. We've been to Greece a couple of times and Russia 3 times, and then we did a cruise, a 53-day cruise all round the south of America, and that was fabulous because we were only 26 miles away from Antarctica when we got down there. We went to Del Fuego, Terra del Fuego or something, I can't forget, and it was a gorgeous day, and then I can't remember all the places we've been to now because there've been so many, and we've done all kinds of things. I think I'm getting my brain's going. My brain's kind of.
It's okay.
Soldering up or something, and now I can't remember things. I think we'll stop for a minute.
Okay, that's fine. Did you have any other things written down on your notepad? Or is that,
I'm sorry. Oh, I tell you what I should put on your tape for you is Jeffrey's poem, Albert and the Lion. You know, the one that I did.
yeah,
Because you wanted that on tape, didn't you? Well, Jeffrey never wanted to be a star, you know, I never wanted to. But when we had a party in Ensenada or anything like that, his party piece was Albert, was it Albert and the Lion? Yeah, Albert and the Lion. And in the old days, on radio in England, we didn't have television. And we only had radio for a few hours at a time. And there was a man called Stanley Holloway, and he used to recite this poem. And at the end of the poem, the word should be bloody. And bloody in England, in the North Country, is used as a swear word, you see. Well, the BBC couldn't allow a swear word to be said over the air in those days. So they changed the word from bloody to Cockney rhyming slang, which is ruddy, you see. So that's the word you'll get at the end of the poem. And instead of it being bloody, it will be ruddy. And this is the poem. Complete with a Lancashire accent, I might add. There's a fine seaside town. It's called Blackpool. It's noted for fresh air and fun. And Mr. and Mrs. Ramsbottom went there with young Albert, their son. Oh, a fine little chap was young Albert, all dressed in his best, quite a swell. He had a stick with a horse's head handle. Hey, it was the finest the bulls could sell. They didn't think much of the ocean. The waves, they were piddling and small. There were no shipwrecks and nobody drowning. In fact, there was nothing to laugh at all. So, seeking for further amusement, they paid or went into the zoo. And there were lions and tigers and camels and old ale, hey, and sandwiches too. Now there was one great big lion called Wallace. Its face was all tattered and scarred. And Albert looked at this lion. No, stop it, Mac, because I've gone wrong.
okay.
Stop it. Go back to, there was old ale.
Okay. Are you ready?
No, wait a minute. There was old ale and sandwiches too. Now there was one great big lion called Albert. Its face was all covered in scars. It lay in a somnolent posture with the side of its face on the bars. Now Albert had heard about lions, how they were ferocious and wild. And seeing one looking so gentle, well, it didn't seem right to the child. Oh, a brave little chap was our Albert. Without showing a morsel of fear, he took his stick with his horse's head handle and he shoved it in Wallace's ear. Oh, you could see that the lion didn't like it, and giving a kind of a roll, it pulled Albert into the cage with him and swallowed the little lad whole. Now Ma, who had seen the occurrence and didn't know what to do next, said, "Hey, "Yon lion's eaten Albert." And Pa said, "I am vexed." So the zookeeper had to be sent for. And he came and he said, "What's the to-do?" And Pa said, "Yon lion's eaten Albert, and him in his Sunday clothes too." So I said, "Now look here, young fella, my lad. I think it's kind of a sin for that lion to have eaten Albert after we paid to come in." So the owner had to be sent for, and he came with his book straight away, and he said, "How much to settle the matter?" And Pa said, "Well, what do you usually pay?" At this, Ma got real angry when she knew whether Albert had gone, and she said, "Something's got to be summoned. Somebody's got to be summoned." So that was decided upon. So off they all went to the police station in front of the magistrate chap. And Pa said, "Young lion's eaten Albert," and he proved it by showing his cap. Now the magistrate gave his opinion, and he said he thought no one was to blame, and he hoped that Mr. and Mrs. Ramsbottom would have further sons to their name. At this, Ma got real blazing. "Thank you kindly," said she. "What, spend all my life raising children to feed ruddy lions? Not me." And that's the end of Albert of the Lion. That was Geoffrey's party piece. I stumbled a couple of times there, Michael.
That's okay. That's okay. That was
You
good.
can
All right.